And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again. Don't worry, we're not going to be using the shake your hands footage for very long. I just wanted to show you, this is my New 52 collection, or most of it. I tend to go for the standard size hardcovers. We've got Flashpoint at the end moving all the way across. And the reason I'm showing it to you is just to kind of highlight, again, I've got a lot of New 52 stuff. I'm a really big fan of it. I obviously haven't kept all of it, but I have read all of it, and I am planning on maybe picking up a few more. There's a few things that I slightly regret not picking up, and I do look back and I think actually that wasn't that bad a story. But this is my New 52 stuff. And the reason I wanted to mention this is I've been thinking for a little while now. I actually have a lot of New 52 information that most people just don't know. I'm kind of an expert in a lot of ways. I'm not the expert, obviously, but I am kind of an expert. I've got a lot of stuff to do with the New 52, as well as obviously DC Rebirth and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, what I could do with, or what I could do, is simply maybe like make some kind of guide to it, like more than just a video guide that I've done. Obviously I've got like the internet's most popular New 52 guide on YouTube, but I was thinking with all the knowledge that I have, with all the expertise that I have, maybe I can throw together something, I don't know, kind of a bit more polished. Let me show you what I mean. So this is my shelf of coffee table books. Rubik's Cube and Captain Toad up top, obviously. But as you can see, I've got a bunch of comic coffee table books. I've got a bunch of video game coffee table books, and I really, really enjoy them. There's a separate playlist on my channel talking through pretty much every single one of these one by one, very briefly. But yeah, it's something that I really quite like, having these fancy books. And sometimes, if you look at the rest of my collection, there's a lot of board games there, but if you look at the rest of my collection here, we've got like quite a lot of video game guides and video games art books and video game bits and pieces. And I was just thinking, it'd be quite cool if there was a New 52 one, because there isn't a New 52 one. The best that we have is up here. We've got a couple of DC ones for particular DC eras, or maybe one or two for particular characters. But actually, there's not a DC New 52 one. So I've decided I'm going to write one. Hey there everyone, so this is it. This is kind of my rough draft, or what I'd like to call a horizontal slice of what that coffee table book might look like. So to have a really quick skim of it, I was just kind of like sketching out what I might do. I might have like a black and white image of Batman here. I've got an idea of having like little banners with the names of a particular chapter it would be. And I started sketching out really kind of how I wanted it to look. Now this is just something so I could work out page by page what would be on the left, what would be on the right hand side, what logos I would need. I don't know if you can see it very clearly at all, unfortunately. And I just had some ideas about the way I might lay it out and the way I might do it. I'm not going to dwell on this in a huge amount of detail, just to say it's always good when you're designing something to start off with like a really scrappy, hand-done kind of left and right, because that way you work out, oh shit, actually for Batman and Robin I'll need 3 pages and therefore I need to have a 1 pager somewhere else, and these are how the banners on the left and right might work. But this is what they call a horizontal slice, which in design circles basically means it's kind of an end-to-end, really superficial, sketched out rough idea, just so you've got an idea of costs, so you've got an idea of size, so you've got an idea of the kind of assets that you need to do. But a horizontal slice is something you might do for let's say an entire video game end to end, but with rubbish graphics, no music, but just showing the basic concept. Whereas a vertical slice might be just making one level of a video game or one chapter of a book, but making it properly and showing people, hey, this is what it can look like. So this is what I did. I was just kind of messing around. I did a couple of test prints in terms of how it might work resolution wise. And then I thought, yeah, cool, I might go ahead with that. I'm aware this is kind of a silly and unimpressive video, which is why I actually waited until I'd done it properly. On that basis, this is my very first test vertical slice of, for example, the Batman section of my New 52 coffee table book. This is the front page, obviously, because this is going to be section 5 of the book. And the reason that I chose Batman is simply because Batman is the largest section of the New 52, and also because Batman's the only thing that anyone cares about, so why not? So this is just a rough draft, and like I say, this is a formalized version of the really scrappy thing that I had in here. But this is kind of what it's going to look like. As you see here, I thought I'd have all the different sections. So Flashpoint all the way through, and then whichever one's big, I'll just have as big. The interesting thing about this is it lets me get a feel of like what kind of gutter loss I'm going to have. So this is the Night of the Owls event. It also gives me a feel as to what kind of text size I should have. I think this text is too big. I'm going with Comic Sans, which I know some people like and most people despise, but I don't care. I'm not making it for anyone else. I think this is a bit too big and a bit too spaced out. I quite like the rest of the design stuff that I've gone for. A couple of like odd quirks, like for example, these boxes that I have by each of the zoom in, focus. There we are. These boxes that I have, sometimes they're a bit smaller than the size of the image. Sometimes they're a lot larger than the size of the image. And it looks a little bit scrappy. I could do with a little bit of design help on working out how to homogenize that. But as you can see, I'm spending my time. This is Death of the Family. And they've even got a page here which kind of encompasses one of my previous videos, which is about these 62 differences between Death of the Family in singles versus Death of the Family in trades. I've got the thing here about the 0 year event. More stuff here. Quite like this artwork. So this is stuff that I've just got from the internet. I mean, all these images are just things you can just get from Google image search. And this is just my own knowledge. Gothtopia, like I say, it's a slight quirk to me that I seem to know so much more about this than most. Not all, but most people. There are some people in my comment section who put me to shame, but they don't seem to have made something like this. This is what I'm talking about. Each text box is quite narrow compared to the picture in these cases because there's not much to say about these particular issues. But then in some cases, like this one, the text box is way bigger because there's so much to say about that particular trade paperback. So those were the events. I hope that kind of like looked okay. Those are the events which I thought I'd preface it with. And then I'm going to go series by series. Here we've got Batman. Here we've got Detective Comics. You'll notice on the side I'm going via the banner. So this is the left and right banner that this is the set of bubbles that I have for my new 52 map. I remade them here so they go down vertically so you can follow through trade by trade. Also, the right hand banner and the left hand banner and the right hand banner are actually the right and left hand sides of this image, which is a really cool image from the new 52 era. So I basically took the right hand side there and put it here, and the left hand side there and kept it there. The text is just a quote I like, and then I thought I'd always have like a picture of, in this case, Batman, but in the Superman era, I'm going to have, for example, Superman's eyes, that sort of thing. Anyway, like I say, I've been making this for the last few weeks. It's been a lot of fun, but it does take a little while. Like I say, here we are, Detective Comics. Then we've got Batman and Robin. This also shows a little divergence into Batman Incorporated and ending with Robin, son of Batman. It also talks a little bit about some stuff that I didn't talk about in my DC Rebirth guide. So actually, my DC Rebirth guide, obviously DC New 52 guide. My DC New 52 guide I made several years ago. Since then, I've learned a bit more about the New 52. So for example, there is the Requiem branded side event in Batman, which I cover here. Batgirl, a bit more on Batgirl here. I even cover things like the controversies about each particular series, whether it's about the writer or whether it's about the covers. Catwoman, and just some stuff on Catwoman there. Batwoman, and again talking quite a lot about the controversies of Batwoman and kind of what happened about that. Batwing stuff, Nightwing and Grayson. Obviously this requires quite a lot of explanation as well to provide the wider context. We're getting into Dark Knight by David Finch, which is just here. We then have Batman Eternal and Batman and Robin Eternal. I really like that Batmobile image there. Birds of Prey segueing into Black Canary. We then have Red Hood and the Outlaws, again talking about the controversy about the depiction of Starfire, who is obviously there. And then it goes into Red Hood Arsenal. As you can see, a lot of the art here is still kind of in progress. If you look at this Talon artwork here, I still need to tidy it up. I've been making bits and pieces of it sort of a bit tidier when I get a chance, but I'm doing this all by hand. No AI being used, partly because I don't agree with AI, partly because it's not the sort of thing AI can do because it's just not smart enough. Arkham Manor, Gotham Academy, and then what I have here is a little thing talking about the stuff that kind of tails into the DC Rebirth era, and I kind of came up with this little bit of branding here for that. Obviously, at some point, once I've made... This is just the Batman section. Once I've made all of this, and I've got it for the New 52, it is going to be a thick coffee table book. And once I've done that, I'm then going to start making one for DC Rebirth. I think it kind of makes sense to write the actual book like a while after I've done the videos, because what happens in the videos is that the humans that watch, which admittedly are about maybe like a third of you, often leave comments behind that are really useful, saying, "Oh, did you know this?" or this is actually slightly different, etc., etc. And I'm not perfect. It's always good to get input from the people that watch. Here we've got We Are Robin, and then we've got Gotham by Midnight. I also talk a little bit about what you can get confused with. So here's a pro tip saying it's not the same as Gotham After Midnight. And then right at the end, what I'm going to do is actually show all the bubbles. So this is a lot like the DC New 52 map that I have, except in that case, it had Flashpoint in the middle, and then it had all of these going upwards. Obviously, I didn't want to do it that way here. I could have done it. I could have done so Batman started at the bottom and then it kind of went up. And then with Superman, if you remember the New 52 map, Flashpoint's in the middle and Superman goes down. But then actually, that's not something I'd be able to keep consistently, because, for example, Green Lantern goes from right to left. The New Storm goes from kind of this angle to that angle. It just didn't really make much sense. So I just thought I'd make it like this, just so it's familiar to people who are familiar with a larger map. Yeah, and here we have it. And that is basically the Batman section. It's about 60 pages long, to be honest. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on it. I'm going to carry on doing it. It does take a little bit of time, but I would be really interested to know what your thoughts are. Zoom in, focus, zoom out. I would be really interested to know what your thoughts are. Would anyone, does anyone have any, ideas of better ways I can design this, better ways that I can make this? I'm not planning on selling it. I wasn't planning on doing like a Kickstarter. Well, I definitely am never going to do a Kickstarter or anything like that. But if anyone's interested, maybe I will throw it up on Amazon or make it available to buy or something like that. Right, I'm just going to zoom in so it focuses, but also to show you kind of the quality of the artwork that I have. Like, it prints out really, really well. Yeah, would anyone be interested in this? I am going to make it, but I was planning on just making one for myself. Would anyone be interested in buying this if I actually got it done? Anyway, after I do this, I'm planning on doing one for DC Rebirth, and then just continuing to kind of play around with the idea of doing a coffee table book. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense, everyone. Well, like I say, from humble beginnings, it started off with this. I was just kind of like sketching out what I was going to do. And so that's like Batman Eternal and Batman and Robin Eternal. And so if you ever do plan on making one of these for yourself, that's kind of how you do it. Just pencil sketch it out and just see where you end up with. Yeah, so here we are. So that was Batman Eternal, which I've done like this. Again, I've instead of doing it as a picture and text, I've done it this way. It turned out in the end. And Batman and Robin, like I said, I just wanted to put in some artwork there, a little bit of text and blurb. But this is how the magic happens. Hopefully that was interesting. I know this isn't what anyone was expecting, but I'm kind of like vacillating between doing New 52 stuff and DC Rebirth stuff on my channel, amidst a few other bits and pieces I'm throwing in there. So I just wanted to let you know that hopefully by the end of the year I should have this done, and when it is done, I'm going to look forward just to showing you all and getting your thoughts. Hopefully you'll like it. Again, yeah, please do let me know your thoughts. I know this is totally unexpected. I haven't teased it or mentioned it or discussed it with anyone before. But yeah, what do you think I should do with this? Do you want to support this? Should I try to Kickstart it? Well, not Kickstart it, but release like a hardcover version. Would anyone be interested in having a copy of this? Let me know. And until the next time, as always, please do support the channel. The only way to support the channel is to go on Amazon and buy my prose book, which costs $1. It's in English, and it's about superheroes, and it is a completely original superhero work. It's not a comic. It is very well reviewed and very well received from the few people that have seen it. And yeah, you can support the channel by, to start with, picking that up. Other than that, as always, stay classy.